Introducing xCredit LP staking from industry-leading RWA loan collateralization platform Credifi. Earn 10% cashback in USDT after 90 days, with more rewards coming soon for xCredit holders. Visit v2.credifi.
Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from a very sunny, warm, and wonderful Dubai. Big shout out to everybody joining this live today, and for everybody watching this on catch up. If you can hear the Lambos rip-roaring down the street outside, that is just a slice of this beautiful country. So we've been out at Binance Blockchain Week all day today. What an amazing event. A huge shout out to Binance for putting on, again, just a real class act of an event. Met some amazing people, old friends, made some new friends, some brilliant connections, and just having an amazing time. Before we dive into the charts, I know everybody is going to be really, really keen to kind of look and see where we're at with Bitcoin at the moment after getting so close to taking that all-time high. Just wanted to say to any of you out there that are ever questioning coming to some of these events, I would say, if you can, if it's within your remit to do it, just don't question it, just come and do it. You can do months, weeks, sometimes years worth of networking at these kind of events. They're incredibly fun. You get to meet some of the key decision makers in this industry. And to be honest, I always come away really, really pumped from these things. And we've got a whole nother day of it tomorrow. There's some brilliant networking events going on this evening that we're going to be at as well. So again, just like to say a big thank you to everybody involved in organizing that. And a special mention to our lovely Deborah over at Binance as well, who very kindly got me involved in this. Now, our very own CryptoBird is hosting the Binance Innovation Stage tomorrow, where we're going to be meeting all kinds of amazing people. So if you get a chance, if you're around, you haven't come along today, you can still grab yourself a ticket for tomorrow, I believe. Just do it. So without further ado, hey to everyone in the chats, our lovely Erica, everybody else is just kind of signing in at the moment. I know we're a lot later on this stream, or maybe not a lot later, but an hour later than we would normally be due to the time difference and the commitments today. So we'll probably have a few less people tuning in on this one, which is my fault because we came out a little bit late, but there's still kind of 300-400 of you here, which is just amazing. And blessed to have every single one of you. So if you've got any questions or if you've got anything you really want to know about, please do pop it in the chat as well. Just a Dad, my man, how are you doing? Absolutely. Cup of tea in one hand. I might have the cheekiest little snifter of a single malt in my cup at the moment, or should I say in my glass, because it's a little bit later here in Dubai. Nice way to kind of wind down from this before we head out to the networking, but only just a little tipple of a really lovely Glenfiddich rare collection that we were very lucky to come into contact with. So without further ado, let me stop jabbering on and let's get into the charts, because I want to cover a few bits and pieces today. We're going to do this in a condensed show. I know I say that every week, but we really are. So I really want to kind of zoom out here and just get some context. Okay, now if we're looking here, actually, one of the things that we want to do here as well is kind of look at our 3-month, our quarterly chart, right? And why is this so important? Because we know, all the way back in here, October 21, we're looking at the high from back here. Now, when you zoom out, for me, it just removes so much noise, right? Or anxiety that you see on the charts. As most of you will be aware who follow the show, I'm looking for price to move for liquidity targets, but also really overlaying key core concepts of support and resistance, because ultimately it's where the buyers and the sellers step in. So I want to just run you through my quarterly thoughts on this. Then we're going to go down to the monthly. We're going to look at the weekly, the daily, just to kind of remove the whole thing. There's a lot of noise out there at the moment. People kind of saying, oh, Bitcoin had to take that. We've had the pullback. I did predict, and it's always a prediction. I'm wrong pretty much as I'm right. The key for me is that I have to make money in this market to survive. So we all have our models and our methods, but for me, I thought it made a lot of sense to leave this failure swing here that Bitcoin's done it. I've been very vocal about it, and at the end of the day, these things might happen, they might not. One thing I will always say is you always have a plan to trade these both ways. If you're wrong, then the chances are that you're going to be right in the other direction to those key liquidity targets. So if we're looking at highs, lows, gaps. That's our key thing, as well as order blocks. Then where do we stand at the moment? And actually, I think the quarterly chart here just looks so very clean. Now, we reacted down here at this bullish gap. I know this is all the way back down in 2022, but just bear with me here, guys, right? It does add a lot of context as far as I'm concerned. So we then got this gap inversion. That means that when we closed above here and we stepped into the beginning of the year, right, this was the expansion that we've been looking for. Now, Bitcoin's all-time high obviously is just tickling above this current level, and we're going to look at that on the lower time frames, right? But what a beautiful, efficient move, right? If we're looking for price to take liquidity from highs and lows, we're looking for price to respect gaps if it inverts gaps. Yeah, not respecting this strong close above. Again, strong close representing for me a big bodied candle, all right? Then we see this beautiful expansion, price ultimately running for the liquidity above that high, all right? So also, guys, obviously, I really don't have much of my equipment. I'm just doing this off of a laptop, fresh out of Binance Blockchain Week. So if there are any issues with the audio or anything, please do let me know. But as it stands so far, I think we're looking okay, right? Up to about 700 viewers, which is awesome. Welcome to anybody who's just come on. So this inversion gap here is a classic resistance term support play. So we create the gap here. The assumption is we're reacting from this bullish gap here. So it seems that we're going to come into here, reject at this gap and move lower to this liquidity, or we close above, as we did here, in which case price is then looking for the next liquidity. And we have two key targets here. We have an internal target, okay, around about here. This was a key just because they're relatively equal highs here. But at the end of the day, when price just starts absolutely tearing through here, you're really, really certain your main target at that point is going to be the draw on liquidity. So where does that leave us at the moment? Well, let's get rid of this because that's not really relevant as it stands. The key thing for me here is that we're reacting at this beautiful bullish gap. Now, this is exactly what I wanted to see, right? Because I like to see efficient price action. Price came up. We've taken this higher, price then often when you see these type of moves, you take some form of liquidity, price comes down to rebalance these gaps. Now, the simplest way that I like looking at these gaps is I like looking at them in the way of saying, okay, well, if this is the high that's been taken and we're in bullish market structure, higher highs, higher lows, this looks primed now to come and set a higher high. However, I look at these gaps and say, okay, well, this is the repricing mechanism here for the market. The market here has to make a decision. If the buyers are really going to step in, then when we reach this gap, we want to see that beautiful, strong reaction here. And look at that downside wick. Yes, we had a rejection here from the top. Yeah, so we had this upside wick here. This one's double or if not more of the length. You can see the absorption, you can see the buyers stepping in, leaving us this candle here. So we've got this beautiful efficient structure. So now obviously we know 73,775 here on BitGet, that is our high that we're chasing down. Now we decant that down further and move that down to a monthly, you can start to see a bit more granularity in here. All right. So what am I looking for here? Well, actually one thing that I wanted to see here is if we're just going to focus on these for a moment. And why are we focusing on these? Because these are our order blocks. These are our bullish order blocks when they are closed above, not before, okay? I take the flat line, yeah, on the top side of the bearish candle. We close above it. That's when I can say, okay, we retest this area. That's where I want to be a buyer. So we've got this one up here. And look, this candle hasn't closed yet. And we're not going to see that candle close, you know, for another day and 11 hours. Okay. But if we do close above this and fail to take this high, then, you know, I'm super interested anyway. However, the point is, imagine this isn't here. This candle isn't valid until it closes. So there's not been a close above this yet. So we then move down to the next order block candle. And again, removing this candle from play actually be easier if I do this. Yeah, so we look at this order block over here, not confirmed, no close above. Move down to the next order block here. Okay, have we closed above? No. So we've not had that close above it yet. No problem. We're still reacting here at a bullish gap. So I'm not interested in shorting this. If I am interested in shorting it in any way, then I'm only interested in taking it to the next liquidity. And when price is this bullish, it just doesn't make sense to be on that side of the trend. All right, the trend is your friend until the end. So now what do I want to see? Well, this order block comes into sharp focus, and what do I love about this order block even more is just the fact that it's a pin bar candle with a really big juicy body, a very short nose and a long tail wick that's taken liquidity from the prior month's low. This is now shaping up. Yeah, so we've got a low, a higher low and a higher low flanking it. The close of this candle in a day and 11 hours, we're looking at this forming the swing low. Now, what we want to see here, sorry, not in a day and 11 hours, let me put the other candle back on there. So we've now created, and you can see the evolution of this candle as we go through it, right? See how that moved? See how price came back down, was trying to force its way back down here, couldn't get below the equilibrium of this order block. Now, ultimately, we've ended up with this super strong close above it, confirming the swing low, okay? So we've got the swing low there. We've got the swing low, swing high over here. So higher high, higher low. Now we're pushing up to make that higher high. And we don't know when that higher high is going to come or how high it's going to be. But what we do know, unless there's some kind of really major sell-off here, is that in a day and 11 hours, this order block's going to be confirmed. We might have taken the high by then. That's how we're going to refine this on a lower time frame. But I'm really, really, really in love with this price action at the moment. So just going to move this back a little bit, because as we start to go down the time frames, this thing is going to be pretty long. So now we've gone to the monthly. I want to take a look at the weekly. And again, we're just going to overlay these same factors. This is how we can look to scale into these positions. We get our targets, we get our theory, we get our where we expect price to be drawing to on the higher time frames, and then we move down through those time frames to find ways and areas that we want to finesse this. So I'm going to remove this from a minute, and we're going to just overlay it the same principles. What happened here was price took liquidity below this low. Then we saw the move go up, okay? And ultimately what we did here is we set a lower high, yeah? But then we set a higher low. These moves here so often trick people into getting short here. But again, have your higher time frame bias. Understand where price is reacting, right? Look, we react to this beautiful bullish gap. I'll do this one in green. Weekly gap, tons of liquidity here after taking this low. Well, price kind of has to find liquidity. It has to find buyers on the other side of this. So the people that have bought here want to sell back at a higher price. Where's the most obvious target for that higher price? Well, here. And then through here as well, okay? And ultimately, we've got another high here. So when you actually draw these in, you can see how there's this gigantic liquidity pool just coaxing price higher. It doesn't surprise me to see us have a pullback here as we've run this high and then we've engaged with these two, okay? So again, I'm just going to remove those just so that we get a little bit, so we don't get too clustered on the charts. Now, what was really interesting for me here is when we set the lower high and then the higher low, again, I'm looking towards the order blocks here, okay? So the reason for that is we don't have any gaps in here. There's no inversions. There's no way for us to see where price is repricing. We close above it here, and then what happens? Lo and behold, we come and we get this nice bullish reaction. Look at how the wicks, the wicks come down this area. I mean, the bodies can't even get in there. This is just a lot of absorption. The candles, a lot of people getting chopped up on the lower time frames. But if you get that narrative, you know where you're wrong, you know where your invalidation point is. It gives you that confidence to step in. So we've set the order block here. We've reacted off of this beautiful bullish gap. Now had an expansion above here. And what have we done here? Well, we've set this as the other order block. And what I love about this just as much is we came, took this high, right? I won't draw the line across to insult you, but look, we took this high over here. Price has then come back down. We've set this order block, Price then retests here, takes out this high, and then goes to those aforementioned liquidity targets, okay? So then how do we look at that and refine that further? Well, now I want to move down to the daily, and we want to look for exactly the same type of structure. We want to see liquidity pools attacked, as in old lows. We then want to see violations of bearish gaps to show us that that bullish strength is stepping in, that it's overwhelming the bears, right? I'm almost tempted to draw some little kind of random cartoon here, right, where you have these gaps, and within these gaps, you just fill them with bears, right? Because this was a bearish gap. So we imagine as price action comes back down here, we see the retest of the bearish gap. Where's price heading from this point? Well, it's heading to the next swing low, right? Because that's the key liquidity pool. Where are you almost guaranteed to have liquidity? Below old lows and above old highs. So we then get our first real indication that price is ready to reverse here, because on the daily scale, we got this beautiful inversion. This is when I started getting really excited by this and felt like this run was really starting to happen. All right, this was around mid-October. We close above this, violating this gap, right? Remember, this is a bearish gap at the moment, rejected price here till we close above it. When we close above it, we invert it, we violate it, and it becomes support. Classic resistance here. Same as this, resistance here, gap forms, violates it straight away. Then what happens here is you see on the violation on the close of that candle here, we then form a bullish gap. And that is where it's the opportunity for the buyers to step in and show that they mean business. Okay, now we've done exactly the same here, closed above this here, a little bit more of a protracted move higher. But ultimately, what happens? We respect this beautiful bullish gap here again. I don't know why I'm using beautiful so much today. Maybe just because I've been around some really awesome people as well. Sorry if I've missed any of your comments, by the way. I am flicking. I've only got one screen on me today, feeling a little bit lost. Awesome that the audio is fine. No clipping. ZX Robin, hello. Just a dad, you criminal. I can't. Well, cheers, everyone. Anyway. Yeah, ZX Robin, David Marino Rivera. What an awesome name that is. Hi, guys. Greetings from Cuba and greetings to you too as well, my friend. Welcome to the screen. Raz, my brother from another mother, my absolute dear friend and wonderful analyst that works with me over at the Bird Nest. So, just going to run through the comments quickly, and then we're going to take a look at that here as well. So Sol seems to be on everybody's mind at the moment. POPCAT as well. We can absolutely take a look at that. I third that, Erica. Sol and POPCAT later, please. Would love to know your thoughts. Absolutely, mate. As I would love to know yours. And pressing MT plus, always giving me some really solid technical advice, my bro. Dora, hello. How you doing? Mozzie ATL, good day as well. Antonio Bonnet, greetings from Bangkok. Awesome. Greetings from Cuba. Oh my God, that is awesome. Awesome, awesome people from all over the world. Kaiser Soze, awesome. That is a brilliant film. So where are we at? Very, very good question. I'll stop joshing on and get back to it. So we're now holding this bullish gap here, right? Now, if we needed any encouragement beyond this, again, using, the methodology that we employ here, this was a bearish gap. Yeah, it had this nice reaction. Price then had a little bit of a slither of a close above this, which is still valid, all right? Now, the little bit that we had here is we ended up getting trapped between these two levels, almost kind of forming a range, right? So we had this down here, price reacting here, can't close below that. Did get a little close above here, but then violated it by coming back down below. So what I'm saying to myself at this point is, okay, well, if that was a little bit unclear for price in here, and we didn't get the repricing we expected, or it wasn't that clean, and again, a little bit of caution here because we got a very small close above, but actually a fairly sizable upside wick. When I'm looking at a candle, if the upside wick, a good example here, if the upside wick is longer than the downside wick, chances are that's absorption from the sellers, right? So, we've gone up and we've hit an area where the selling pressure has increased, and then we're looking for liquidity lower down. If, on the other hand, we have a candle where the wick at the bottom is longer than the top, the chances are that the absorptions come from the bottom, meaning that the buyers have stepped in. So, really good example here. Buyers stepping in on this one, sellers stepping in a little bit on this one. I think it's a little bit kind of 50-50 here because we had the inversion, but it wasn't what I would call a strong close. It's a strong candle because it's a good bullish body that's also engulfing. However, that upside wick was a little bit of a concern here, and we can see this bearish order block that was left here ultimately rejected price. So what do we want to see here then? Well, we just want to see this area hold. Ultimately, remember that we're setting higher highs and higher lows here, meaning we're holding bullish market structure. So we should be favoring long setups. So for some extra confirmation, because we don't really want to, if this has been violated here or it wasn't very clear, we leave it on, this makes it very clear. We're now miles above this thing, right? So let's just get rid of that for a minute and show what else we can employ here. It's the idea that we've set this order block, all right? So as we set the order block coming into this area, well, okay, yeah, we do have to wait for this candle to expand. But I tell you what, so many people are really kind of over-concerned themselves with buying bottoms, selling tops, right? There's nothing wrong at all for waiting a bit of confirmation, because I tell you what, right? If you want to buy too early, there, and you end up buying here and you end up getting stops out, fine. You've lost your R, you've lost whatever your risk is on that trade. Whereas you wait for this to close above here and you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to be a buyer in here. Even if you don't wait for the retrace, you just take it from the open to the close here. You're 4% up already. You're allowed to mitigate your risk that way, which obviously we would, take this setups on the lower time frame, but it gives you a better position to be involved from. So what am I looking for now? This order block has not been retested. There's an argument here as well. I mean, I'm not normally a massive fan of these, but this is a singular large down close candle. So all of a sudden, we've closed above both of these, and I'm saying to myself, right, well, I want to see this level here or this level retested. In an ideal world, doesn't mean we're going to get it. That's why we finesse this on the lower time frames as well. But also this big, beautiful bullish gap that's now confirmed at the close of yesterday's price action. I would love nothing more than to see price flush down to this area here and then really rock it. And I tell you as for why, because although Bitcoin can run really hot like we get here, you do often after these big runs get these points of consolidation, which is very, very simply got this point of consolidation here. If this consolidation here, if this is the breakout, yeah, then a retest of this area, if the buyers are really here, then this should be long central, all right? Again, we close below this here. We do have a slither of a gap here as well. The chances are price is looking for liquidity below these lows. And then from there, we need to assess market structure, considering that at this point, we would need to come all the way down to here. You know, before we shift market structure, we wouldn't even break it at that point. We would need to come up, set a lower high, and then a lower low. But this would be the first kind of point at which you would think, okay, we're back at this now for, you know, had this here inversion closed above, retest away. Buyers could step in here, but I would imagine that this low is going to be attacked, or this one. So more from an intraday perspective, if we start violating these gaps, then I'm looking a little bit lower, and I will wait to reassess the options from here, which we will cover very shortly. So looking at that, we're now going to take on board our 4 hour. I'm just going to turn our session breaks off here for a moment. So where's the earliest place for me that price can run from? Well, actually this gap we're in at the moment, okay? We've got a nice bullish gap here and we've taken a low. Now this is the candle that's taken the low, so we need to wait and see it play. Got 2 hours and 37 minutes left on this at the moment. But again, I would want to see something here that would give me an indication that price is ready to move. Some absorption, right? So a longer downside wick and a little bit of a recovery. Like basically the opposite, right, of this candle here. So this candle, basically, I want to see something like that. I want to see price forcing its way down, but it just can't get there, right? The buying pressure is just too strong. If that's the case, then I'm looking to be a buyer in here and trade that higher. And, you know, how would that look? Well, quite simply, you know, if this is our key level that we're looking at, be that, you know, the sweep of this low, which we'd look at on a lower time frame, especially if it's a gap low, yeah, held within this gap or an intermediate term low. What I'd then be looking for is this kind of pattern, right? I like to see price come in, set a clear low. I want to see it take out higher time frame liquidity, also local liquidity here means people have been caught offside. I then want to see a big expansion above the prior high and then a retest of this area, right, before we then start to rip. And within here, you can trade all kinds of things. You can look for a bullish order block in there, right? You can look for a breaker block, which is the last up close candle before price sweeps that low, okay? You can even take price, and an old model that I used to teach that's still very, very valid, that I'm a big fan of, is the breaker line, right? It's just the top line of the breaker candle, right? So price comes down, we've swept local low, we've swept liquidity, we see this big impulse move. It tells us that buyers are stepping in. Ideally, you want to see gaps in this as well, because it shows you a failure for order pairing, meaning the buying pressure is very strong. Price comes to retest this area. We know where we're wrong, and then we can look to take that higher. Now, I would be looking to do that on a lower time frame, obviously, you know, depending on what your kind of setup is, maybe a 15-minute, maybe it's a 5-minute, maybe it's lower if you're really going intraday. But we can see the absorption starting to happen here, but at the moment, this is like a bit of a spinning top, kind of looking like it might be a doji. Could be a signal of a little bit of indecision as the market kind of comes to the terms that I think not everybody, that's not true, but I think a lot of people were expecting this to be taken, right? You know, it got all the way up here to 73,600, sorry, again, a few cents over, but that again, another round number, right? Amazing how often we see that pure reflection of psychology. So again, if I want to finesse this more and I want to be a little bit greedy here, I'm just going to turn Geo's indicator off. A good friend of ours over at the Nest, wonderful student and incredible coder who built this for me. We use it intraday though, right? So we're scalping live sessions, which we do every week. By the way, also, if you do want to come and join those live sessions with us, which you are more than welcome to do, it'd be great to have you over there with us. You can find details down in the description. You can take a look at how you can get involved with that, how you can be a member over the Nest, how you can come and trade with me live 3 days a week, how you can come and trade with our amazing trading team who have just been killing it, like absolutely crushing it. A 1K account last month following our trading calls with no leverage would have earned you that pretty much that 1K back again. So a 10K account would have earned you 10K, etc. The team have been profitable every single month, I think, for the last 17 months, which is a really, really incredible achievement. So huge shout out to those legends. Our trading team like Resume, like the Trading Tank, right? Like, just Pit, who has just been an amazing breath of fresh air coming through for us all as well. And we've just got this amazing crew over there. Chris, who works on our fundamental side. Come along, check it out, and just, what can I say? Just Just do it. Give it a go, right? There's loads of different ways to get involved you can find in the description. And the last thing that I'll say as well, I will show you this, incredibly proud of this. These are some of our members showing their recent wins as well and profits. Funny enough, one on that on POPCAT, which Jay has just been absolutely smashing. That's the trading tank. But also, if you want to get some good deals at the moment, come and join us over at BitGet. They've just renewed their sponsorship with La Liga, so a huge shout out to them. That's a massive, massive partnership. You must have seen the Messi adverts and that out there as well, which is really, really cool, especially for me, for somebody that's so much into football or soccer for our American cousins. But what you can do at the moment is you just sign up, deposit $100, I think is the minimum, and then they'll just give you $20. It's all withdrawable, right? Just think about that for a minute. Think about how that's immediately 20% profit and how you could. And I don't advocate going on, just taking that money and going away, because I want you to try the exchange. I want you to try the brilliant UX that they've developed over there. And the liquidity that they've added to. They've fixed and just developed so many things. I'm really, really proud of what they've done. But you can see the link in the description. Sign up with that. You get the Bird Nest special deal. You get $20 for depositing 100. Guess what? Even if you want to secure that 100 back, just trade with the 20. There's going to be some really big opportunities coming up, I think, in the next few weeks, right? You can do multiple X's on that, and then you can make yourself a bit of money. Anyway, that aside, let's get back to the charts. And then I'll also catch up on any comments that we have as well. So I do apologize because I'm just kind of flipping between two different screens at the moment. So now I've got my high time frame context. I'm saying to myself, I like the look of this area here for price to go down to, right? So what do I want to see? Well, quite simply, while we're in this high time frame bullish area, I'm not really interested in shorting this. It's that simple. But if I want a really early stage indication the price is getting ready to rip, let's take a look at this bearish gap. Let's invert this bearish gap. In an ideal world, let's then set this pretty epic mother of an order block and just use this consolidation, this area here, right? Look, have that spike up, price now comes back down. This gap here, which has recently just failed, meaning the price is probably going to be seeking liquidity lower, which it did. It took out this low. It did it in the same move, which didn't really give us any intraday plays, but that's fine. I'm not interested in shorting this at the moment, but I am interested in this. Right now, what would just be great, seeing price come down here, take this out, leave another gap lower down, then for us to violate that gap, we can then trade this level to level on an intraday basis between this gap and this gap. Like, we don't want to be longing within a bearish gap. We want to see that violated first. But that kind of move lower here would give us that early stage indication. We start breaking down below the kind of 50% of this, then I think we're coming for this low, this low. We've got this big gap here. And ultimately, we just take that target to target. If we get the bullish reaction we want in this, we trade it to the next higher target, to the next resistance. We want a long at support and short at resistance. But we also want to align that with our higher time frame bias. And let's remember that this is still bullish. I know it can look a little bit disheartening sometimes, people drilling into the really low time frames. Oh, it was a rejection. Oh, this thing's going to zero. Oh, there's this thing in China. Oh, there's this thing here. Yes, there's these factors to consider, but we don't always want to be, talking ourselves into not taking these. We just want to draw the levels, see if we get the reaction. If we do, happy days. Okay, so I'm not going to really drill in any lower than that at the moment. I think that's pretty comprehensive what we're looking for on Bitcoin here, but please do pop on any charts. And this is so funny, ZX Robin, because I was just about to talk about ETH BTC as well. I think we're at a major kind of support here. We've just had a big sell-off. I think we're looking potentially at a deviation below a level. I actually saw one of SZ's posts earlier, who's been a huge influence in my trading life, and he was covering something similar. So, I'm not going to say great minds think alike. That guy is the great mind when it comes to range trading and stuff like that. But, I think a very similar thing. So we will take a look at that in a minute as well. I just want to catch up on some of your questions. All right. So I don't know why your screen is zoomed in. So you want me to zoom out, Raz, or? No, it's at 100. It's at 100. I don't know if it's an issue with the settings or that, mate, but I can just press, Command plus, but it is at 100 at the moment, mate. So greetings from Chile Island. I love Ireland, mate. I did a scuba diving expedition to Marlin Head, which is the very northerly tip of Ireland. I'm sure you're aware of that, right? But just for any viewers that aren't, we went there to tag basking sharks, and it was just the most amazing experience with some of the most beautiful people I've ever met. And I just got to spend a large portion of the afternoon with someone who's becoming a good friend in Follis, just an exceptional trader, a wonderful human being, and another fellow Irishman. So always a pleasure to spend some time in his company. And Argal Hussam, hello, could you make a video about determining bias only using fair value gaps, please? In fact, Argal Hussam, I think you can probably find that in my free content already, which if you go to the Bird Nest YouTube channel, you can find that under live shows and you can take a look and just hit me up on that. But if you want to grab yourself one of these opportunities to grab a free trial for the Bird Nest, or you want to come and be a member over there, I've got a whole course on WAP for you, and you can actually get access to me. I'll even come along, grab some of you guys together and do a show just for you guys privately where we can cover gaps and the use of them as support and resistance. So we're going to take a look at, this is a good point from ZX Robin here. We're going to take a look at that. Unfortunately, the bastards just started to rip before we've got to cover it, but really good point there. O'Hara, good morning to you as well, my friend. There's a 45-minute OBIM that aligns with the uptrend point of control just below price that I'm looking at. Aaron Barnes, you are speaking Rezoon's language there, my friend, with points of control. Something I do use, but I leave it to the real pros in this, man. And Rezoon is one of the best that you will find, but it sounds like beautiful confluence to me. Oh mate, yeah, absolutely. If you get the opportunity, mate, then it's just, the beach is there, everything. You can go on these amazing foraging courses. It's just a really good place to go and disconnect from this, crazy full-on digital world that we all love so much. But it's really good to go and trade some grass. See, that's in program, right? Touch some grass. ZX Robin, thank you, mate. I'm a really, really big fan of it. Put a lot of time and effort into it. And a big shout out to QBS as well, who's been instrumental in making those courses. You can also get access to legends like Rezoom's course over there as well. The trading team have all got little courses, little nuggets of how they see the market. Because I'm really a strong believer that there's a particular way, style that suits everybody individually. Like, I was a decent swing trader in truth. I built my career based on it, but I actually struggled with anxiety around it. I used to not sleep great. I didn't like leaving these positions open for a long time. It really didn't suit me. So slowly but surely refined myself down to the lower time frame so that I can intraday, I can just be in and out really, really quickly. So we're going to flip over onto ETH BTC, and then we're going to finish up taking a look at some alts, right? So let's go over on the Binance chart, shall we, for our dear friends after they put all of this on. So let's take a look again. I think we want to be looking here on the daily. So what were we looking at over here? Possibly, let's see. Here's our weekly gap, right? Now, I know that I can sound like an absolute broken record on this, right? But I don't want to be shorting bullish gaps. Now, price could be coming down for this low down here, but ultimately this was the area I was looking for a reaction here, and we got this slow little pump. We can even see the old TA on this bit, again, just taking out key lows. And when you see these kind of wick lows, right, when they're a little bit longer, amazing how these often provide some really, really good support and resistance levels as well. You can really see the flip. So let's just get rid of that for a minute and just make sure everything's nice and clean. So on a weekly basis, I got a little bit excited when we saw this, right? So price, yes, came down, set this order block by closing below, but the body for this really tried to go down. Now, for me, if the momentum was strong on this, and this was really going to sell off further, we got this gap lower down here and this low over here. So for me, the fact that price retreated back into this and closed within, I think this looks like it really could be the early signs of resurgence here. Typically, you want to see BTC in a form of consolidation or that to really see these alts ripping off, because then it just stops gobbling up all the liquidity out of the market and gives the alts a time to have their moment. The daddy of which, obviously, being Ethereum. Oh, we're going to cover POPCAT as well before we close off the show. So with this here, on a weekly scale, I'm not actually that interested in being that patient here. But one thing that I do want to show you is the significance here. Let me see. Oh, yes, that's set perfectly. The significance here of how we use our up close candles, our bullish candles here, to see how it defends price. Yeah, so we want to see these act as resistance. So what happens here? We set this one when price closes below here, retest, sell off. We set this one here. What do we get? Close below, retest, sell off. We set this one here. What do we get? Close below. Not a perfect retest, but it does sell off. Now, we've done the same down here, but I tell you what, I'm not as concerned about this, which, might sound a bit laissez-faire, but actually there is method to the madness. So I want to be looking down here and saying, okay, well, what's going on here? And what we can see is we've had this classic move here where we've come in, we've taken a low, we're holding a higher time frame gap. Remember that we're getting our context from the higher time frame. Price sweeps this low, and we get this nice but slightly skinny bodied and long nosed pin bar candle, or you'd see it as a hammer candle. This for me is a bullish candle all day long. What I'm getting excited about here is if we close this, then this will be the first bullish order block that we have set in a while. And that for me is really exciting, because from there, the next targets really for ETH BTC are up in this gap and ultimately higher up. Now, if we take this down onto the 4 hour, you can see how this very same level has acted as a really key resistance. Yeah. So what happened in here? Price came down. We had that big sell off. Price broke down again here. And then this level here, resistance, 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 resistance. Now we're seeing that pop. We're seeing that move higher. So what we want to see is this move up, and then we want to see it hold. However, there is this gap lower, okay, a bullish gap. I would not be averse to seeing price wick down into this, but I would then want to see a strong reaction higher. And once again, I know I can sound like a broken record, but it was a nice gap inversion that led us to the early stage idea that this could be price reversing here. Oh, sorry, guys. I think we had an issue with the sound there. So I will just quickly run over that last bit again. So basically what I was looking for in here was just a very classic trend line breakout. Whether you take that or whether you're taking it from the initial, you've got a nice retest of it here. I was taking it wick to wick. And what I was saying was that we saw this strong expansion over here. I wasn't interested in getting involved here because I wanted to see this area retested, or at least the order block. We set this big, beautiful bullish gap, held this here, and then ultimately big expansion, respecting the gap, big expansion, respecting the gap, and the order block, big expansion, respecting the gaps. We've now got this big gap down here. So we want to see price hold this area and ultimately move higher. Apologies for the sound issues then, guys. Please bear with me 1 second. Yeah, thanks, Erica. I just noticed that actually. I think might have just kind of dipped out of signal there for a moment. I think there's a lot of people probably chewing up a lot of bandwidth over here with the amount of people looking at charts at the moment. So that's ETH BTC. So let me just take a very quick look at some of your questions. Brother, I don't know, did you hear, but Cardano will save BTC. You must go over the glorious asset. Okay, we'll take a very quick look at XRP. Last said that ADA won't even save Charles. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, well, let's have a really quick rip through then, shall we? So we want to take a look at Sol. Okay, like we were talking about earlier, we've got this kind of key level up here. This is the draw on price. This is a little bit getting ahead of ourselves, but was just kind of indicating how we would want to see that kind of strong move, how you can kind of get involved with those kind of buy programs like we covered on the last one. But that would as well be what we would want to see at that high, right? So let's just take a look at this from a kind of cleaner perspective. We can save this and we can take a look at it in a moment. I always like to start with a clean chart, really make sure we kind of get ourselves locked in. There we go. So where are we at the moment? Well, at the moment, yeah, we're getting this corrective move down, but actually, we had this move above here. We set the order block here on a daily scale. Not the most convincing move above. I do quite like this little bit of a long nose, but I still would have expected this to move higher. The issue that we had here, obviously, we took local liquidity here. We look across on the left, there's not really anything else to stop price here. But if we take a look at this gap, we can see as we bring this across for some confluence here, that this is an area we would want to see held. Yeah. So price came up. Yes, we got this rejection back down. We engaged with this bullish gap here, and then we came back above it. So for me, this has some kind of significance here. Whether you're looking at it as a support and resistance level, you can see resistance here, close above. Price gets underneath, resistance, all the way across here. This gets a little bit messy, but this is in kind of an area of interest here. Now, on a daily scale, I'm more than happy to see price have like a 50% retracement or even deeper. But I really do want some kind of target in here. The other thing to consider here is if we look at the order block candle itself, we can come all the way down to the kind of 50% region of this as well, and then look to build our way back up. So I'm not actually getting the cleanest read on this on the 4 hour, because we've had that. We failed to kind of gather that expansion over the top. We've obviously got our key next target at 193.95. So I'm going to really kind of lean on the 4 hour here to give me a little bit more confidence. And I'm going to get rid of this at the moment. We're going to focus on this as our kind of high time frame chart. So where do I think price is heading for? Probably here, 172.50. Why? Because it's just kind of the cleanest area here, right? The other thing that we could be looking at here is this order block. So this is our 4 hour order block. You'll see that as an OBH4. I just take a black line from the top flat side of the bearish candle. Okay, I don't allow for the wicks. Again, that's how I view order blocks, how I've used them over the years, right? There's still different ways, or as we say in England, a pretty crazy saying for you, there's many ways to skin a cat. Hope none of you are skinning cats, by the way. Now, this order block here, again, the reason that I'm feeling we might come down to take this low is because, look, we had this expansion higher. We came down, got the retest, failed to really gain any momentum. And then what we did here is we set this bearish 4 hour order block here, okay? And now we had a really strong move below this low, because I would have really expected this low to engage some kind of reaction if we were going to be bullish here, meaning that if that was the liquidity that price was being forced towards to catch people offside, engage all those sell orders, and ultimately then gobble them up with bids, then that's failed. That's a strong big body candle here with a slightly longer upside wick again. So remember what we said, we see the longer upside wicks here, we expect more downside pressure. We got that downside wick here, did lead to higher prices. This big downside wick here really felt that was moving higher, but ultimately just took liquidity above the prior high and then kind of moved away. So where does that leave us? Well, I would need to see a recovery of this area here, a pretty strong recovery. This candle due to close in 2 hours and 16 minutes. Let me just get rid of these for a moment. We know we're still in the buy zone. I'm happy to take this down to the 50%, by the way, of this order block, which it's sitting on at the moment. Look at that. It's just sitting on that perfectly. If we close below that, especially a strong body close, that gives even more indication that we're going to come and take out this low, right? But at the moment, we're just engaged with this order block again. So let's see what happens. Still favor this low. But again, it's not about what we think is going to happen. It's about reading what the charts are telling us and then making a strategy that fits, making a plan that fits our strategy and ultimately respects our entry triggers. So if we close this candle here and we leave this gap, then we've got a bearish gap. So very, very simply, if we fail to take this low, my expectations would be, again, as long as we violate this and we leave this gap, for price to do this. Okay. If we close above this gap, we invert this gap, I expect this to be the area that offers support along with this order block here for price to really, really push higher. But we haven't set that gap yet. So again, we're going to look for our context on a slightly lower time frame. And this here looks really nice, actually. So if we're going to hold this, we haven't really taken any significant liquidity, right? There's a huge order block in here. So again, that's not very clear. If we do get this reaction here, this would be an early stage. If we close above this, inverting this, then I think we move higher. But ultimately on Solana at the moment, I think it looks like it wants to kind of take liquidity a bit lower down. I would need to see a close above this hourly here for us to start running this liquidity. And then, let's never forget to just go back to our high time frame and remind ourselves how bullish this is. Yeah. So order block set, respected, gap respected, order block set, respected, price goes up, order block set, not being respected, but we can come a lot lower. And again, remember when we look to the equilibrium of this here, we can come all the way down to here if we need to, right? Or even if you allow just for the body, because sometimes it's hard if you get these slightly abnormally long wicks. See how this low we were just targeting kind of sits within that region, gives us a nice little bit of confluence there. So let's see how that plays out. Now let's take a look at POPCAT. Again, let's clear this up. So POPCAT, where are we? Let's take a look at the weekly here on this. Actually, you can just see what an absolute tear this thing has been on, right? That has just been unbelievable. I'm going to move down to the daily here because it doesn't really tell me a lot. What I can see here, however, is that we did have this daily order block that we set. Price came up, nice expansion. Again, a little bit curious here because we saw this upside wick. So you want to see price establish itself again. When you see that long downside wick, the absorption happens. You respect the 50%, ultimately targeting this high, right? So nothing more before it. That's the high that we're interested in. Now, again, on a daily scale, what I'd actually quite like to see here is a little bit of consolidation, leaving us a bullish gap. And this can just provide a perfect platform here for price to, dip into this and ultimately run the higher. I'm going to draw this one down a little bit lower as well because I think we'll get a little bit better context here from the lower time frame. I'm not kind of as concerned. There's a very skinny gap here. It overlays this bigger gap. This is what I want to see held. But here on the 4 hour, this is looking quite strong. I mean, it's looking a little bit indecisive. We've got this kind of consolidation coming in, almost this bull flag being formed, right? Now, we've got these 4 consecutive down close candles that make a rather juicy 4 hour order block if closed above. And to be honest, that's what I'd want to see here because we've taken liquidity below this low, which is beautiful. Taking liquidity below the low, now having a decent reaction here. A large expansion and close above this in the next 2 hours, 12 minutes. And this wick looks like it just wants to be hunted really, really badly. I don't think I'm even going to draw down onto the 1 hour for this, right, guys, unless anybody has particular need for some real kind of low time frame views, because I think this is just so very, very clean. Let me just pop over and take a look over here very quickly. Brilliant. There's our ghost in the machine for you. Let's see what we get around that. So start a riot, maybe. Absolutely, maybe. So soul bouncing at 174. Yeah, I think, for me, we've all got our different systems there, and absolutely, it really could kind of take off from here for me. I think it's kind of one of those things. I want to see it kind of get back above. I want to see that inversion. I want to see the order block set to give me that confirmation. That's how I trade it. But, ultimately respect everybody's system that, can make money in these markets. But for me, I think it looks like it wants deeper at the moment until it gives me some indication of strength on those, relevant time frames. So let's close up on ADA. Again, let's zoom ourselves right out here. What are we doing? What's price respecting, right? Price is currently respecting this big bullish gap. Lovely. Drawn into it here. Support again, rising these highs up, rising the lows, taking liquidity from the highs, failing to take liquidity from the lows until we had this lovely move over here, right? Now we've swept that liquidity here, and again on a daily scale, I think go time for me on this, especially if I'm looking to involve, add to some spot bags on this, then I'm going to want to see a weekly order block close here. And again, I think then we run really quickly to start to take out liquidity above these highs. On a daily scale, we've already had the inversion here that we wanted to see. So this is looking quite positive here, right? We've had that nice inversion. What are we doing? We're engaging with this kind of skinny order block up here at the moment, but actually I think this looks quite nice. And now on a daily scale, again, a little bit similar to what we were just discussing there on POPCAT. If it closes around this kind of area here, leaves us this bullish gap, we've got these untapped highs up here. We could see price drawing back down into this and really kind of pushing up. But let's get onto the 4 hour and say, okay, well, if this really is the magnet for price at the moment, what are we looking for? Well, we've not set a bearish order block. We need to close well below these candles. We can get a little bit of early go time by taking a look at this 4 hour order block over here. Close above this. Again, I'd kind of like to see this low taken out first. It's a gap low. I do really like kind of seeing these key liquidity pools engaged with, because it just means that you've got enough fuel here then to really skyrocket. So ideal play and scenario for me here is we push that, recover this here, and then we come up, ultimately close above this. Remember, this is a higher time frame order block as well, so we still want to see a close above that, take liquidity above this high, retrace to retest this, really prove to ourselves and the market, the buyers are stepping in, and then I think we can really kind of make a move higher from here as well. All right, guys, look, I'm going to call it a day there. It's been a really, really busy day over here. We've got a few events we're going to this evening. So really big shout out to our boy Andrus over there at the OGs, as well as all the cool Binance event. I think KOL in the dark party tonight, as well as a few other bits and pieces. So going to be really cool to connect with some people over there. I really just wanted to get live with you guys. Really appreciate you all being here. I know it's an hour later. We still had almost 2,000 people live on that. So a little bit lower than normal, but that's my fault because of changing the time. Now, if you do like the content, you can find everything in the description that you need to come and join us, come and trade with us over at our preferred exchanges. Come and be part of what we're building over there, the most vibrant, wonderful community, whether you're into fundamental analysis, whether you're into technical analysis, whether you're somebody that wants to learn and engage yourself with the POPCAT Pro, right? You know, again, let me just show you a little bit of this, what B Pro has been doing for us, right? So I really use this for the most simplistic for the most simplistic of uses, but it's an all-in-one trading system, right? We've got that. I do use the divergences. I think the divergences are super, super powerful. So just to show you that very quickly, taking a look at where we are here. Now, if I just get rid of all of this for a second. Now, basically, these are showing the divergences here. It's not on because I've obviously just turned labels off, but you see these black lines showing the bearish divergences, these showing the bullish ones. What we're looking to be is above this on the higher time frame here. Yeah, so we're looking at this. This is switch bullish here for us. Again, look, switch bearish here. How well did that do keeping us in that downtrend, right? We saw the retest of the line here that allowed us some intraday longs. Again, even though we're just consolidating in this move, right? So if that's something you're interested in, you ultimately get free access to that now with your membership, all right? So go and take a look at that as well. I use very minimal features of this, but the ones that I use really plug in with my systems. There's whole entire trading systems built on this, as well as automated bots that we're creating at the moment. You'll get a really, really good announcement about that soon. So legends, thank you so much for being live with me today. It really was a pleasure to be here with you all. Do keep checking out our content from Binance Blockchain Week. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming up. Do come and trade with us over at BitGet as well. Just come and grab yourself your $20. You know, even if you just risk that $20 and take your 100 back out. But I really would recommend trying the exchange. They've done so many good things with it. And do come and give us your feedback. If there's things you want to see with them, we have a direct line into these guys. They're so switched on when it comes to developing this platform out. So let us know. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you want to see? We can get back to them on that and ultimately, you know, make it better for everyone. Have a fantastic week ahead. Please do keep an eye on the charts. Do stay in touch with us. You can reach out to us through Twitter. And I look forward to seeing all of you legends soon around the nest.